Let him go, Julian. You take one more step and I'll paint the walls with his brains. Drop the wrench! Okay. It's me you want. Let him walk and you can have me.
The air in the room is thick with artificial cold and the scent of desperation. Lieutenant Mark Thorne stands at the podium, a granite statue amidst the clamor. His face is a mask of professional indifference, his eyes sweeping over the reporters like a searchlight. A question is shouted from the back, sharp and accusatory. "Lieutenant, can you confirm the officer involved was working deep cover?" Thorne leans forward, his voice amplified, cutting through the noise with the flat, unemotional edge of a blade. "I can confirm that Internal Affairs is conducting a thorough and impartial investigation into a recent incident involving an officer from this department. That is all I can say on the specifics of the case at this time." His words are a stone wall. Another reporter, a woman in the front row, pushes forward. "But sources say this officer was embedded with the Vargas crew. Is that true?" Thorne's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. "I will not comment on active investigations or ongoing undercover operations." He pauses, letting the silence and the flashbulbs do the work for him. "What I will say is this." The room holds its breath. "The Miami Police Department holds every single one of its officers to the highest standard of conduct. There are lines, there are rules, and there are consequences." A man to his left shouts, "What kind of consequences? Are you saying you'd prosecute one of your own?" "I'm saying that the badge is not a shield," Thorne declares, his voice dropping, becoming more intense. "It is a responsibility. No one gets a pass. I don't care if they've been on the force for 20 years or 2 days. I don't care if they're behind a desk or 18 months deep in a den of vipers. When you cross a line, you will be held accountable. To this department, to this city, and to the law." He straightens up, his statement made. "Any other questions?" The same reporter from the back tries again, his voice strained. "So you're not denying he was undercover?" But Thorne is already turning away. "I am not commenting on the specifics of an active investigation." He walks off stage, a man leaving a fire he just doused with gasoline. The press conference dissolves. The feed cuts to black. A new sound emerges, the low gravel of a voice over a cheap burner phone. It's Ethan Cole, but he's not Ethan anymore. He's Rico. "Yeah, I read you, loud and clear. You sound like you're sitting right next to me." His handler's voice crackles back, distant and tinny. "I wish. How's the weather down there?" Ethan looks out the dusty window of his parked car at the sun-bleached Miami street. "Hot, sticky, same as yesterday, same as it's gonna be tomorrow. What's the word?" "The word is caution," his handler says, the worry evident even through the poor connection. "We saw the presser. Thorne's not playing games. The brass is feeling the heat from that shooting. They're looking for a head to put on a spike." "Let 'em look," Ethan grunts. "It wasn't our play. We were miles away." The media doesn't care about miles, they care about names. And Vargas's name is all over the news feed. That puts you in the splash zone. "How's our boy Julian holding up?" Ethan watches a group of men across the street, their movements lazy in the oppressive heat. "Cool as ever, laughing about it. Said any press is good press. He's more worried about the new shipment coming in." "The port drop? That's still on?" "Looks like. He's getting paranoid, though. Tightening the circle. Been running loyalty checks on the new guys." "And you?" the handler asks. A short, humorless laugh escapes Ethan's lips. "He trusts me more than he trusts his own shadow. I'm his right hand, his pit bull, whatever he needs me to be." "That's what I'm worried about, Ethan." A sharp edge enters Ethan's voice. "The name is Rico. Don't get sloppy." A brief, tense silence. "Right, Rico. Just watch your six. The line between playing the part and becoming the part gets thinner every day. 18 months is a long time to wear a mask." "Tell me about it," Ethan murmurs, his gaze lost in the shimmering heat haze. "Sometimes I look in the mirror. I gotta remind myself which one is the mask. He straightens up, his body instantly alert. Gotta go, he's here. Stay safe, the handler says, a futile wish. I stopped being safe the day I took this job. Ethan ends the call, the line clicking dead. The sound of footsteps on gravel approaches his car. The passenger door opens and Julian Vargas slides in, bringing with him the scent of expensive cologne and cigar smoke. Rico, good. You're early. I like that. Shows respect. You said be here, I'm here, Ethan replies, his voice back to the low, steady cadence of Rico. What's up? Business. Always business, Vargas grins, a flash of a gold tooth. Get in. We gotta take a ride. There's someone I want you to meet. Someone who needs a little convincing. And I figure my right-hand man is the best convincer I know. Ethan just nods. Whatever you need, Jay. Vargas claps him on the shoulder, the gesture friendly but weighted with ownership. That's what I like to hear. That's loyalty. In this world, it's the only thing that matters. Don't ever forget that. The car door slams shut and the engine roars to life, sealing them inside their own world. The air inside the SUV is thick with smoke and bravado. Marco, in the passenger seat, winces. Turn that crap down, man. My ears are bleeding. Luis at the wheel just laughs. Hey, relax. It's a party vibe. We're celebrating. The port deal is solid. From the back seat, Ethan's voice cuts through the music, cold and pragmatic. It ain't solid till the product is in our hands. Don't get comfortable. Julian Vargas, sitting beside him, nods in approval, exhaling a plume of blue smoke. Rico's right. Never get comfortable. Comfort makes you soft. Soft gets you killed. He gestures with his cigar out the window at the sprawling, sun-baked warehouse district. Look at this place. Used to be nothing. Now, it's our kingdom. We built this. Blood and sweat. And bullets, Ethan adds, his tone flat. Vargas smiles, that flash of gold again. And bullets, yeah, those too. He leans closer, his voice conspiratorial. You remember your first test, Rico? The sit-down with the Haitians? Ethan remembers. The metallic taste of fear in the air, the defiant look in the man's eyes. They didn't want to listen, so I made them. Vargas lets out a low chuckle. You made them. I told you to be firm. You broke the guy's jaw in 3 places, sent a message to the whole neighborhood. That's when I knew. He taps a finger against Ethan's chest. I knew you were different. You got that fire, that hunger. Just doing my job, Ethan says, the words automatic, part of the script. See? That's what I'm talking about, Vargas presses on, his voice filled with genuine admiration. To you, it's a job. To these other clowns, it's a game. They want the money, the cars, the women. They don't respect the work. You do. Luis protests from the front, a whine in his voice. Hey, boss, I respect the work. You respect the paycheck, Luis. It's not the same, Vargas dismisses him. Rico here, he's an artist, a craftsman. Every move is precise. Every threat is calculated. He doesn't waste motion. That's why you're my number 2. Ethan gives a slight nod. Appreciate the trust, Jay. Trust has to be earned every day, Vargas says, his tone shifting, becoming serious. Which brings me to today's little field trip. He leans forward, the mood in the car instantly sharpening. There's a new player trying to move in on our territory. Some punk named Sal runs a crew out of Little Havana. Thinks he can lowball our prices, steal our customers. We gotta send another message, a louder one this time. Ethan feels a familiar coldness seep into his gut. What's the play? It's not a sit-down, it's a takeover, Vargas says, his eyes gleaming. He's got a front operation, an armored car service, small time. They move cash for local businesses. Today they're moving the weekly take from a string of check-cashing joints. The implications hit Ethan like a physical blow. You want to hit an armored car? In broad daylight? That's bold. That's loud. It's a statement, Vargas declares, jabbing his cigar in the air for emphasis. It says, "This is our city. Everything in it belongs to us. Even the money you think is safe. It's not about the cash, Rico. It's about the fear, the message it sends." Marco, ever the worrier, speaks up. "Cops will be all over that, Jay. That's federal-level heat." "The cops are busy chasing ghosts from that shooting last week," Vargas scoffs. "They're disorganized. They're pointing fingers at each other. Now is the time to strike." While they're looking the other way. "We'll be in and out in 90 seconds. Clean. Professional." Ethan's mind races, searching for an exit ramp, a way to steer the conversation, but there isn't one. He tries logic. It's risky. High risk. What's the take? Maybe 60, 70 grand? Like I said, it's not the point. The point is dominance. Vargas turns his full attention to Ethan, his gaze intense, probing. "I need to know my top guy is with me on this. I need to know you're not getting soft. Are you with me, Rico?" The car is silent, save for the thrum of the engine. It's another test, the biggest one yet. To refuse is to reveal himself. To refuse is to die. He's so deep now, the only way out is through. He meets Vargas's gaze, his own face an unreadable mask. "You're the boss. You make the call, I make it happen." Vargas's smile is predatory. "That's my guy. Luis, Marco, you hear that? That's what loyalty sounds like." He settles back into his seat. The test passed. The trap sprung. "All right, let's go over the plan. We hit them at the intersection of 17th and Biscayne. It's a long light. We box them in, one car in front, one behind. Rico, you and I are on the glass. We make the approach. No masks until the last second. I want them to see our faces. I want them to know who did this." "Understood," Ethan says. The word feels like ash in his mouth. The line his handler warned him about is no longer in the distance. He's standing on it, and Vargas is about to shove him over. Vargas's voice cuts through the static. "Eagle is nested. What's your 20, Hawk?" Ethan grips the steering wheel of the sedan, the cheap plastic slick with sweat under his palms. He keys the radio, his voice a low, steady murmur. "Hawk is in position. 2 blocks out. Stand by." Through the radio, he hears Luis. "I see him. Target is a green and white Brinks truck, making the turn onto Biscayne now. They're right on schedule." "Copy that," Vargas replies. "Everyone hold. Wait for my signal. Rico, you ready for this?" "Born ready," Ethan lies. The truth is, his heart is a frantic drum against his ribs. The air in the car is hot and dead, the AC off to keep the engine from making any suspicious noise. On the passenger seat beside him sits a heavy duffel bag, a silent, menacing passenger. This is different. This isn't a back alley shakedown. This is a federal crime in broad daylight. This is the point of no return. They're approaching the intersection. "Now, go, go, go!" Vargas's command is a starter pistol. Ethan slams his foot on the accelerator. The sedan lurches forward with a scream of tortured rubber. He swerves across 2 lanes, a symphony of angry horns blaring in his wake. He sees the target, the armored truck, slowing for the red light. Up ahead, Marco's car swings into place, cutting it off. Ethan wrenches the wheel, the car fishtailing for a second before he corrects, sliding perfectly into place behind the truck. The box is complete. He grabs the radio. "We're set. Hawk is in place." "We're moving," Vargas replies. 30 seconds. In the rearview mirror, Ethan watches Vargas and Luis exit their car. They move with a predatory calm, sunglasses hiding their eyes, just 2 men crossing the street. The illusion is shattered by a blaring horn from the car trapped behind him. "Hey, move your damn car!" Ethan ignores it. He reaches for the black ski mask on the seat. He takes a breath, catching a glimpse of his own face in the mirror. The face of Officer Ethan Cole, tense and pale. He pulls the mask down. Officer Cole vanishes. Only Rico is left. A loud bang on metal makes him flinch. It's Vargas, pounding his fist on the armored truck's window. "Police! Open the door now!" A muffled voice comes from inside. "Show me some ID. We're not opening up." Vargas turns to Luis.
Plan B.
A dull thump-thump follows as Luis fires a silenced pistol into the door lock. The mechanism mangles. Vargas yanks the door open. Out! Now! On the ground! Face down! Two guards, their faces etched with terror, scramble out and lie flat on the hot asphalt. Ethan exits his car, grabbing the duffel bag. His body moves with the muscle memory of SWAT training, a cruel irony as he now uses it for the other side. He stands over one of the guards. Don't move. Don't even breathe wrong. You understand me? The man trembles, nodding. Yes, sir, please. Don't hurt us. From the back of the truck, Vargas shouts in frustration. It's mag-locked! We can't get it open! Rico, get over here! Ethan runs to the rear. The heavy steel doors are sealed tight. Luis is grunting, trying to wedge a crowbar in the seam with no success. It's no good, boss! Vargas is frantic. We don't have time for this! The light's gonna change! Ethan's eyes flick from the lock to the bag in his hand.
He knows what's inside.
A small-shaped breaching charge. SWAT issue. He acquired it on the black market to prove his resourcefulness to Vargas. Using it is not just crossing a line, it's vaporizing it. This is a career-ending, life-destroying felony captured by a dozen traffic cameras. Rico, what are you waiting for? Do something! Vargas's command hangs in the air. Everyone is looking at him. Luis, the guards, the unseen eyes of his superiors, of Thorne, of his own shattered conscience. He has a fraction of a second. Expose himself now, get everyone killed in a disastrous shootout, or become the criminal they need him to be. Stand back, he orders, his voice rough. He pulls the charge from the bag. His hands, surprisingly, are steady as he places the small device over the magnetic lock and attaches the detonator. Clear! He presses the button. A sharp crack splits the air, a definitive, irreversible sound. The steel doors shudder and swing open, revealing stacks of cash bags inside. Vargas lets out a triumphant, almost giddy laugh. Yes, that's my guy! See? I told you he was an artist! Grab the bags, let's go! They scramble, stuffing the money into their car. Ethan's mind is a roaring void of white noise. He just did it. He blew the door. He blew his life. The mask isn't a disguise anymore, it's fused to his skin. Vargas raises his glass of scotch, the amber liquid catching the light. To us, to victory, to fear. He takes a long sip, a look of deep satisfaction on his face. A beautiful day's work, gentlemen. Luis, counting a stack of bills on a glass coffee table, grins. 68 grand, boss. Not bad for 90 seconds of work. Peanuts, Vargas scoffs, waving a dismissive hand. It's not about the money, I told you, it's about the message. And today, we sent one first class. He turns his gaze to Ethan, who stands by the window, a silent silhouette against the glittering city. You're quiet, Rico. Something on your mind? Ethan's reflection stares back at him from the glass, masked and distant. Just thinking. It was sloppy. The timing was too tight. We were exposed. Sloppy. We were brilliant. We were ghosts. Vargas comes to stand beside him, clapping him on the back. Did you see the look on those guards' faces? Pure terror. That's better than money. That's power. A driver behind us had a cell phone out, Ethan says, his voice flat. Could have gotten our plates. Plates are stolen. Car's already at the bottom of a canal, Vargas says, his tone reassuring. You worry too much. You need to learn to enjoy the win. I enjoy staying out of a cage. Vargas's expression turns serious. He lowers his voice. And you will, because you're with me, and I take care of my own. He studies Ethan, his eyes sharp and analytical. That display today with the door, that was next level. Where did you even learn to do that? You pick things up, Ethan deflects. Yeah, I guess you do, Vargas murmurs, a thoughtful look on his face. I've been thinking, Rico, about the future, about my organization. He gestures around the opulent apartment. This little crew we have, it's good. But I'm thinking bigger. Cartel connections, international distribution, real power. That's a big leap, Ethan observes. You don't get to the top by taking small steps, Vargas says, his voice thrumming with ambition. You get there by finding the right people, people who are loyal, people who are smart, people who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty. People like you. He walks to a large mahogany desk and slides a folder across its polished surface. This is my proposal. I'm restructuring. Luis and Marco, they're good soldiers. They follow orders. But you're a general. I want you to be my official second-in-command, my chief enforcer. You'll answer to no one but me. You'll have a piece of every deal, a say in every decision. Ethan looks at the folder, a silent invitation to damnation. This is the real trap. Accepting this makes him management. It makes him complicit in everything, past, present, and future. That's a generous offer. It's not an offer. It's a recognition of talent, Vargas corrects him. But it comes with a condition. This life, you can't have one foot in and one foot out. You're either all the way in or you're a liability. I need to know you're all the way in. I blew open an armored car for you today, Ethan says, his voice hard. What more proof do you need? That was a job, a means to an end, Vargas counters. I'm talking about a commitment, a bond, blood in, blood out. He leans against the desk, his expression turning dark. You see, the feds are sniffing around. Cops are putting pressure on the street. There might be a leak in my organization, a rat, and I need someone I can trust to help me find him. Someone with a killer instinct. The air in the room grows heavy. You think you have a rat? I'm always thinking I have a rat. It's what keeps me alive, Vargas says coldly. So I need you to take on a new responsibility. You'll be in charge of internal security. You'll vet the new recruits. You'll handle any disciplinary issues. Anyone steps out of line, anyone even whispers to the wrong people, you make them disappear. No questions asked. This is the true test. A brilliant, sadistic masterstroke. He's making the undercover cop the head of counterintelligence. If Ethan refuses, he becomes the prime suspect. If he accepts, he may be forced to murder an innocent man, or worse, another informant. There is no right move. Vargas watches him, waiting. This is a permanent position, Rico. A lifetime appointment. There's no walking away, so I ask you one more time. Are you in? All the way? Ethan's gaze drops to the folder. He can almost hear his handler's warning about the blurring line. He's no longer on the line. He's in a different country altogether. The mission, his survival, it all depends on his next word. He reaches out and picks up the folder. Where do I start? A slow, predatory smile spreads across Vargas's face. I knew you were the right choice. There's a guy, a low-level dealer named Hector. He's been seen talking to a detective. I want you to have a conversation with him. Remind him what happens when people forget who they work for. Ethan opens the folder. A man's photograph stares up at him. The weight of the folder in his hands feels impossibly heavy, like the weight of a human life. Ethan sits in his car, the engine off, windows cracked. The street in Little Havana shimmers in the heat. Across the road is a faded, pastel-colored apartment building, its stucco peeling. He speaks into a hidden microphone, his voice a low whisper patched through to his handler. I've got eyes on the building. Target's name is Hector Ramirez. Second floor, apartment 2B. Vargas thinks he's talking to a CI. His handler's voice comes back, frantic and distorted. You mean a detective? Ethan, this is an unacceptable escalation. You're not an enforcer. Your job is to observe and report, not handle disciplinary issues. Do you think I have a choice? Ethan hisses back, his eyes scanning the street looking for Vargas's watchers. I say no. I get a bullet in my head and this entire 18-month operation goes up in smoke. He's testing me. This is the price of admission to the inner circle. The price is too damn high. What are you going to do? I'm going to talk to him, Ethan plans aloud, trying to convince himself as much as his handler. I'm going to scare him, make it look good for Vargas's cameras. He'll have someone watching, I guarantee it. I just need to make a scene, make the guy disappear for a few weeks. I'll give him some cash, tell him to get out of the state. And if Vargas wants proof? A body? A cold knot tightens in Ethan's stomach. Then we have a problem, he says grimly. One bridge at a time. I'm going in. Maintain radio silence unless it's an emergency. Cole out. He cuts the feed and gets out of the car. The sun is a physical weight on his shoulders. He wears the Rico uniform, dark jeans, a tight black t-shirt, sunglasses. He walks into the building's shadowed entryway, the smell of stale cooking oil and bleach assaulting his senses. He takes the stairs to the second floor and stops outside 2B. He pounds on the door, the sound echoing in the quiet hallway. A nervous voice calls from inside. "Who is it?" "It's a friend of Julian's," Ethan growls. "Open up! We need to talk!" The scrape of a deadbolt, the rattle of a chain. The door cracks open, revealing a sliver of a terrified face. Hector is wiry, his eyes wide. I don't know what this is about." Ethan shoves the door open, forcing his way inside. Hector stumbles backward. "Yes, you do," Ethan says, his voice low and menacing as he closes the door behind him. "Julian sends his regards. He's worried about you, Hector. He thinks you've been talking to people you shouldn't be." "No, man, I swear, I haven't said anything to anyone," Hector babbles, his hands held up in surrender. Ethan's eyes sweep the small, cluttered apartment. "Don't lie to me. It makes this so much more unpleasant." He takes a step closer, backing Hector toward a worn-out couch. "We know you met with a detective, Detective Miller, Tuesday, at the diner on 8th Street. The color drains from Hector's face. "He's my cousin. We were just talking, family stuff." "Your cousin is a cop, and you're a dealer in Julian Vargas's crew. There's no such thing as family stuff." Ethan leans in, his shadow falling over the terrified man. "There's only business, and you are bad for business." Hector trips and falls onto the couch. "Please, man, Rico, I got a family, a wife. I swear on my life I didn't give him anything." Ethan looks toward the window, acutely aware of the unseen eyes watching from across the street. He has to play the part. He leans over Hector, whispering for his ears only. "Julian doesn't care what you told him. He cares that you talk to him at all." Then he raises his voice slightly for the benefit of any listening devices. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to pack a bag." His words are cut off by shouting from the street below, a stupid argument over a parking spot. "Hey, that's my spot!" one man yells. "Screw you, old man!" yells another. The argument escalates into a full-blown confrontation, and then the air is split by a gunshot. Bang! Followed by two more. Bang! Bang! Hector screams. Instinct takes over. Ethan drops, pulling his own weapon from the small of his back. He crawls to the window, peeking through the blinds. A senseless street beef has turned violent. But then he sees it. A woman on the sidewalk, clutching her legs, screaming. An innocent bystander caught in the crossfire. One of the shooters looks up, his eyes locking directly on the window of apartment 2B, likely thinking the shots came from inside. He raises his gun. "Get down!" Ethan roars, tackling Hector off the couch and onto the floor. Bullets rip through the window, shattering glass and tearing through the wall where they had just been. The TV explodes in a shower of sparks. The shooting outside stops as quickly as it began, followed by the screech of tires. An eerie silence descends, broken only by the woman's cries and Hector's terrified whimpers. Ethan stays low, his mind racing. He knows exactly how this looks. Vargas's enforcer shows up, and moments later, gunfire erupts and a civilian is hit. The cops will pull the security footage from the corner store, and that camera will show Rico, Julian Vargas's right-hand man, at the scene of the crime. The walls are closing in, a prison of circumstance built in a matter of seconds. Detective Rossi's voice is sharp, clinical. "Freeze it there. Enhance Sector Gamma." A technician clicks a mouse, and a section of the blurry video enlarges. "Zoom in on the man leaving the apartment building, right there. Stop. Can you clear that up?" "Running it through the de-blur algorithm now, Detective," the tech replies, his eyes on the screen. It's low-res footage from across the street. It's not going to be perfect. I don't need perfect, Rossi says, leaning closer. I need a face. The pixels on the screen shift and resolve. The image is still grainy, but the face is unmistakable. The hard jaw, the cold eyes. It's Ethan Cole in his Rico persona. He's glancing back at the scene of the shooting before getting into his car and speeding away.
Well, well, well,
Rossi murmurs, a grim satisfaction in her voice. Look who it is. Julian Vargas's new golden boy. Get me a timestamp on that shooting. The technician types a few commands. First 911 call came in at 2:13 p.m. The footage shows him leaving the building at 2:14 p.m. He was there. He wasn't just there, Rossi says, her mind connecting the dots. He was in the apartment of one Hector Ramirez, low-level dealer for Vargas. Ramirez has since vanished. His wife filed a missing persons report this morning. Says a man came to see him, they argued, then there was gunfire outside. By the time she got home, Hector was gone. Lieutenant Thorne, standing behind her with his arms crossed, speaks for the first time. So he's cleaning house for Vargas. It looks like it, Lieutenant, Rossi confirms, turning to face him. Our undercover officer has graduated from robbery to enabling a violent crime. An innocent bystander took a bullet in the leg.
She'll walk again, but that's not the point.
The point is, our guy was there, and he didn't report it. He didn't call it in, he just left. Thorne's expression is stony. He's protecting his cover. He's committing felonies. There's a difference, Rossi counters, her voice rising with indignation. We have rules of engagement for a reason. An officer is allowed to commit minor infractions to maintain credibility. Selling a dime bag, maybe, but accessory to an armed robbery that nets 68 grand? Using a controlled explosive device? And now being present at a shooting and failing to render aid or report? He's not just crossing lines, Thorne, he's erasing them. Thorne sighs, a deep, weary sound. 18 months, Rossi. He's been in that sewer for 18 months. The pressure. The pressure is the job. We all face it, she snaps. That doesn't give him a free pass to become the monster he's supposed to be hunting. I'm opening an official internal affairs investigation. Effective immediately. The words hang in the air like a death sentence for the operation. You do that and the media gets wind of it, this whole case against Vargas goes sideways, Thorne argues, his voice low. The DA will never be able to use Cole as a witness. His credibility will be shot. His credibility is already shot. He blew up an armored car. What part of that is credible testimony? Rossi fires back. He's a compromised asset. Worse, he's a danger, to himself and to the public. Thorne gestures at the screen. He's our best shot at taking down Vargas for good. Julian is untouchable. We've never gotten this close. Cole is on the verge of getting us access to his entire operation. The cartel connections, the money laundering, everything. Rossi steps closer, her eyes boring into Thorne's. And what if the next test Vargas gives him is to put a bullet in someone's head? Will that be worth it? How far are you willing to let him go? Thorne has no answer. He just stares at the frozen image of Ethan, a man who looks more like a predator than a cop. Find out what happened to Hector Ramirez. Quietly. I don't want this leaking. Rossi gives a short, bitter laugh. Too late. Someone already leaked the security footage to Channel 7. It'll be the lead story on the 6 o'clock news. Vargas associate present at broad daylight shooting. Your boy is famous, Lieutenant. Thorne slams his hand on the desk, the sound a sharp crack in the quiet room. Damn it! The fuse has been lit. This is out of our hands now, Rossi says, her voice devoid of triumph, only a grim resolve. My investigation is proceeding. I'm going to want a full debrief from Cole's handler. I want every report, every voice log, every transcript from the last 18 months. I'm going to find out just how far down the rabbit hole our hero has gone. You're jeopardizing the entire operation, Thorne grits out. No, Lieutenant, Rossi corrects him, her gaze unwavering. Officer Cole already did that. I'm just cleaning up the mess. The question is, How much of him is left to save? She turns and walks out, leaving Thorne alone with the ghost on the screen. The bank of monitors on Lieutenant Thorne's office wall is a chaotic mosaic of news reports. A male anchor's voice, smooth and serious. Leaked footage raises serious questions about the Miami PD's investigation into crime boss Julian Vargas. The man seen leaving the scene has been identified by sources as a key player in Vargas's organization. His face is replaced by that of a fiery activist leader speaking at a rally. This is a classic case of selective outrage. The media and the police department are focusing on a man of color present at a crime scene instead of the systemic issues that lead to this kind of violence in the first place. The channel switches to a stern-faced police union representative. We must support our officers, but we also must demand accountability. If an officer, undercover or otherwise, is found to have violated protocol or broken the law, they must face the consequences. Then, a talk show host, his expression one of grave concern. The question on everyone's mind is, who is this man? A ruthless enforcer for a growing criminal empire, or something else? Thorne points a remote at the wall and clicks. Silence crashes into the room. Turn it off. I've heard enough. Detective Rossi stands by the door, a file in her hand. The court of public opinion is in session, and we're losing. The activist groups are trying to frame this as a racial issue. They're painting this Rico as a victim of a corrupt system. He's not a victim, Thorne says, his voice a low growl. He's an officer of the law, or he was. And the department? They're getting ready to throw him under the bus to appease the public, Rossi informs him. The chief wants a statement. He wants to get ahead of the story. Tell the chief I'll handle it. Rossi raises an eyebrow. You? You're too close to this, Mark. You trained Cole. You sent him in there. Which is exactly why it has to be me, Thorne replies, his jaw set. I need to control the narrative. We need to make it clear that the uniform, not the man, is what matters. The scene shifts. Thorne is at the podium again, but this time the atmosphere is electric with tension. The room is packed, the reporters more like sharks that have scented blood. He leans into the microphones, his voice sharp and clear, cutting through the noise. I will be brief. There has been a great deal of speculation regarding the footage released to the media yesterday. Speculation that serves only to obscure a simple truth. He lets the words hang in the air. The Miami Police Department is, and always will be, an instrument of the law. Not of public opinion, not of political pressure. The law. A reporter shouts, Lieutenant, are you saying the man in the video is a police officer? Thorne ignores the direct question, his gaze sweeping the room. I am saying that our investigation is ongoing, but let me be unequivocally clear on one point, so there is no room for misinterpretation. He lowers his voice, forcing everyone to lean in. Some have tried to inject race into this discussion. They have suggested that this individual should be viewed differently, perhaps more sympathetically, because of his background. He scoffs, a sound of pure contempt. That is an insult. It is an insult to every officer of color who serves this city with honor and integrity. And it is an insult to the very principle of justice itself. His voice rises again, hard as iron. We do not have separate standards of conduct. We do not have different sets of rules. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care what neighborhood you grew up in. If you break the law, if you violate your oath, you will be held accountable. Your skin color is not a shield. Your background is not an excuse. The law is blind, and so are its consequences. That is all. He turns and walks away from the podium, leaving a stunned silence in his wake before a storm of unanswered questions erupts. In a sterile debriefing room across town, Ethan's handler watches the press conference on his phone, a look of horror on his face. He shakes his head slowly. You just signed his death warrant, Thorne, he whispers to the unhearing screen. You just told every cop in the city that he's fair game. And you just told every criminal that he's got no one watching his back. On the phone, Thorne's face is a mask of cold, unyielding principle, the face of a system that has just devoured one of its own. Ethan sits at a gray metal table, the Rico persona stripped away, leaving him looking tired and raw. "So that's it? You're just pulling me out?" he asks, his voice hoarse. "After 18 months, you just hit the eject button?" His handler, standing by the door, avoids his eyes. "It wasn't my call, Ethan. It came from the top, from Thorne. The media pressure, Rossi's IA investigation, the whole thing is a powder keg. They had to pull you out before it blew up." "Blew up? It was about to pay off!" Ethan slams his hand on the table, the sound a dull thud in the quiet room. "I was in. I was his number 2. I had access to everything, his ledgers, his suppliers, his entire network. Another week, maybe 2, and I could have handed you Julian Vargas on a silver platter." "And you might have been dead in a week, or in a prison cell," the handler retorts. "That shooting changed the game. You were compromised." "I reacted to a situation. I saved that snitch's life, got him out of the city, and made it look convincing. I did my job. Your job was also to report the shooting, to not be on camera leaving the scene of a violent crime, to not use a C4 breaching charge on an armored car." A bitter, broken laugh escapes Ethan's lips. "You weren't there. You don't know what it's like. The choices you have to make in a split second. Vargas was watching me. Every second of every day is a test. You hesitate, you blink, you show 1 ounce of weakness, and you're dead. What was I supposed to do? Let them kill me? Let the whole operation fall apart because of some bullshit protocol you guys wrote in an air-conditioned office? The protocol is there to keep you from becoming them, to keep you from getting lost." "Lost?" Ethan repeats, his voice cracking. "I've been lost for a year. I don't even know who I am anymore. I wake up in the morning and for the first 30 seconds I'm Rico. I think like him. I react like him. The hate, the violence. It's not an act anymore. It's a part of me. You can't live in the sewer for 18 months and not get covered in shit." He buries his face in his hands, his shoulders slumping in defeat. The anger drains away, replaced by a profound weariness. "What happens now?" he asks, his voice muffled. "Rossi wants a full debrief, every detail," the handler says softly. "Then there's a hearing. The board will review your actions. The robbery, the explosive, the shooting incident, everything." Ethan looks up, his eyes haunted. "And?" The handler hesitates. "And they'll make a decision. Best case, you're suspended without pay pending a full investigation. Worst case, they file criminal charges. Obstruction, accessory, conspiracy. They could put you away for a long time, Ethan." The words land like punches. "So I risk my life, lose my soul, to take down the biggest scumbag in Miami, and my own department is going to send me to prison for it? That's the deal?" Thorne's press conference didn't help. He drew a line, made it clear there's no special treatment.
He didn't draw a line, Ethan says, his voice turning cold.
"He put a target on my back. What about Vargas? What happens when he finds out I'm gone? When he realizes Rico just vanished into thin air?" "We have a team monitoring him," Ethan scoffs. "A team? He'll know in a day, maybe less. He's not stupid. He'll put 2 and 2 together. The media leak, the heat on his new enforcer, my disappearance. He'll know I was a cop." His eyes lock with his handlers. "And then he's not just going to be a target for the police. He's going to be a target for every hitter Vargas has on his payroll. We can offer you witness protection, a new life." Ethan shakes his head slowly. "I'm not going to run. I'm not going to hide. I started this. I'll finish it." He stands up, a new, dangerous energy radiating from him. "You tell Thorne. You tell him he made a mistake pulling me out. He didn't stop a problem. He just unleashed a bigger one. Because now, Vargas isn't just going to be covering his tracks. He's going to be hunting. And I'm the prize." The door to the debriefing room opens. Detective Rossi stands there, her face an impassive mask, a thick file tucked under her arm. Her eyes meet Ethan's, cold and appraising. "Officer Cole, my name is Detective Rossi. We have a lot to talk about, and I suggest you don't leave anything out. Julian Vargas stares at his phone, his expression dangerously calm. He's not answering. Luis shifts nervously on the plush leather couch. Maybe he's busy, boss. Maybe he's laying low after all that heat. Rico doesn't lay low, Vargas says, his voice soft, which is far more terrifying than if he were yelling. He doesn't get spooked, and he never, ever misses my calls. He knows the rules. Try his burner again. Luis dials. The sound of a phone ringing, unanswered, fills the penthouse. It clicks to voicemail. Nothing. Straight to voice. Vargas turns slowly, a predator sensing a change in the wind. He's gone. Vanished. He begins to pace, his movements tight and controlled. His apartment's been cleared out. Not messy, professional. Like a ghost. The news is all over him, the cops are making statements, and my brand new second in command, the guy who knows all my new plans, he disappears. What does that tell you, Luis? I don't know, boss, Luis stammers. Suddenly, Vargas's control shatters. He grabs a heavy crystal paperweight from his desk and hurls it against the wall, where it explodes in a shower of glass. It tells me I've been a fool, a goddamn fool, he roars. All this time, 18 months, right under my nose. Marco, standing by the bar, looks pale. You think he was a cop? Rico? No way. I saw what he did. The armored car, the way he handled Hector. It was all an act, a performance, Vargas snarls, jabbing a finger in the air. And I gave him a front row seat to my entire goddamn life. He knows about the port shipment. He knows about the Colombian connection. He knows where I sleep, what I eat, everything. He wasn't just a rat, he was the whole damn plague. He stops pacing, his mind working furiously, the pieces clicking into place. The timing. It's always the timing. He gets the promotion. The media suddenly gets leaked footage. The cops start crawling all over me, and then he's gone. They pulled him out. They pulled their boy out because they thought they had enough. Luis finds his courage. So what do, Jay? We don't panic. We adapt, Vargas says, his voice returning to that icy calm. First, we scrub everything. The port deal is off. Call our friends in Medellin. Tell them we have a security issue. The timeline is postponed indefinitely. All warehouses, all stash houses, move everything. Now. Burn the phones, wipe the laptops. We go dark. And what about him? Marco asks hesitantly. What about Rico? Vargas stops in front of a framed photo on his desk. It's of him and Ethan at a party, their arms slung over each other's shoulders, smiling. A slow, cold smile spreads across his face, a chilling mask of hatred. His name isn't Rico. His name is Officer Ethan Cole. He picks up the photo, his knuckles white. I had my people do some digging, deep digging, pulled every favor I had. A source inside the clerk's office found his sealed police academy file. Top of his class, decorated, special commendation for undercover work. He was their best, and they sent him to me. He stares at Ethan's smiling face in the picture. They think they can just take him back? Hide him away in some safe house? They think this is a game you can just quit? The rage builds in his voice again. He didn't just lie to me. He betrayed me. In my world, there's only one punishment for that. You want us to find him? Luis asks. I want everyone to find him, Vargas declares. Put the word out. To our guys, to every rival crew, to every two-bit hustler on the street. $50,000, cash. To the person who tells me where Officer Ethan Cole is breathing. He pauses, his eyes glittering. And double that for the man who stops him from breathing permanently. Marco whistles softly. That's a lot of money, boss. That'll turn the whole city into a hunting ground. That's the point, Vargas says, his voice a venomous whisper. I don't want him to have a single place to hide. I want him to know that every shadow is a threat. Every friendly face is a potential traitor. I want him to feel exactly what he made me feel. Hunted, paranoid, alone. He smashes the photo frame against the edge of the desk, grabs a shard of glass, and meticulously cuts Ethan's face from the picture. He holds up the jagged cutout. Find him, and when you do, bring me his badge. I want to add it to my collection. Ethan sits near the back of the bus, his head down, the hood of his sweatshirt pulled up. He speaks into a nearly invisible earpiece, his voice a tense whisper. This is insane. I feel like a fish in a barrel. His handler's voice is a faint crackle in his ear. It's the safest way to move you. No car to track, blends in with the public. We have 2 unmarked cars shadowing the bus. You're covered. Covered? Ethan mutters, his eyes scanning the faces of the other passengers. An old woman sleeping. A young mother with a baby. A man in a suit staring at his phone. Any one of them could be an informant. The whole city is looking for me. I saw my face on a newsstand next to the words, cop or crook. Vargas has probably put a price on my head already. Every person on this bus could be trying to earn a payday. Just get to the safe house, the handler insists. It's secure. It's off the grid. Once you're inside, we can figure out the next move. The next move is to go after Vargas, Ethan grits out. The only way I'm safe is if he's in a cage or in the ground. That's not your call anymore, Ethan. You're a material witness now, not an operative. Your job is to stay alive. Ethan stares out the grimy window. The city he once knew feels alien, hostile. Every shadow seems to lengthen. Every parked car feels like a threat. As the bus passes an intersection, he sees 2 men in a sedan watching it go by. Cops? Or Vargas's crew? The paranoia is a physical sensation, a low-level electric current humming under his skin. He pulls the cord for his stop. The bus hisses to a halt in a quiet, manicured suburb that feels like another planet. He gets off, pulling the collar of his jacket up, trying to look like he belongs here. I'm off the bus, he whispers into his mic. Heading east on Palmera. Copy that, we see you, the handler confirms. Safe house is 2 blocks down. Blue door number 241. Key is under the mat. Standard procedure. Standard procedure got us into this mess, Ethan grumbles. He rounds a corner and the sound of an engine starting nearby makes him freeze. A nondescript gray utility van pulls away from the curb, its speed unnaturally slow, matching his own walking pace. I've got a tail, he says, his voice calm but urgent. Gray utility van, no markings. Are you sure? Could be a resident. I'm sure, Ethan says, picking up his pace. The van speeds up. They're matching my speed. Okay, confirmed. We have eyes on the van. The handler's voice is suddenly tense. Abort the safe house. Do not lead them there. Our first shadow car is moving to intercept. Get to the end of the block and make a right. Copy. Ethan breaks into a full sprint. The van's engine roars as it accelerates, tires squealing as it mounts the curb, trying to cut him off. The side door slides open with a deafening rattle. There he is! Get him! Luis's voice. Pop, 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 the soft, deadly cough of silenced pistols. A bullet whizzes past Ethan's ear. Another chips a chunk of brick from a garden wall beside him. He ducks and weaves, his training taking over, every muscle screaming. Ahead, one of the unmarked police cars swings into the intersection to block the van's path. Police! Stop the vehicle! The van doesn't stop. It plows into the police car with a sickening crunch of metal and glass. Unsilenced gunshots now, loud and sharp, as the cops return fire. The quiet suburban street is suddenly a war zone. Ethan, get out of there! Get out of the line of fire! His handler yells in his ear. Ethan dives behind a parked SUV, the metal vibrating as a stray bullet strikes it. He's unarmed, his service weapon taken from him during his debriefing. He's a sitting duck. The shooters are focused on the cops. It's his only chance. He crawls on his belly, moving from car to car, putting distance between himself and the firefight. Sirens wail in the distance, getting closer. The gray van, its front end crumpled, screeches in reverse, breaks free of the wrecked police car, and speeds off down a side street. The immediate danger is gone, but the message is clear. They knew. He crouches behind the car, gasping for breath. Ethan, are you hit? Talk to me! I'm okay, he pants. They're gone. They knew, the handler says, his voice grim. They knew the route. A cold dread washes over Ethan. Or they have a leak. Someone on the inside. Someone in the department. Don't say that. Don't even think that. I have to think it. How else could they have found me so fast? They weren't just hunting, they were waiting. They knew exactly where I would be, Ethan says, his voice shaking with a mixture of fear and rage. Thorne, Rossi, you! Someone is feeding Vargas information. I can't trust anyone. The safe house is blown. The transport is blown. I'm on my own. Don't do anything stupid. Wait for backup. There is no backup, not anymore, Ethan says, a new cold resolve hardening his voice. He reaches up to his ear. I'm a ghost now. You tell Thorne his leash is off. I'm doing this my way. He rips the earpiece out and crushes it under the heel of his shoe. The connection goes dead. The silence that follows is absolute. The burner phone in Ethan's hand vibrates. He lets it ring twice before answering, his voice flat. Yeah. Vargas's voice comes through the line, smooth as silk, laced with poison. Rico, or should I say, Officer Cole. I was beginning to think you wouldn't answer. What do you want, Julian? What do I want? Vargas chuckles, a sound devoid of humor. I want to understand. I want to know why. I took you in. I treated you like a brother. I gave you my trust, and you spit in my face. For what? A paycheck? A medal? It was a job. You were the job. A job, right. The false friendliness drops from Vargas's voice. Well, your job is over, but mine is just beginning. You took something from me, Ethan. You took my future, so I'm going to take yours. But first, I want to see you. Face to face, man to man. No cops, no guns, just a conversation. Ethan scoffs. You tried to have a conversation with me yesterday with a van full of shooters. Forgive me if I don't trust your intentions. That was business. This is personal, Vargas says, his tone shifting again, becoming reasonable. I'm not a monster. I'm a businessman, and I have a proposition. You have information in your head that is very valuable. It makes you a liability. And you want to eliminate the liability. I want to make a deal, Vargas says. I know you have nothing. Your department has thrown you to the wolves. You're a man without a country, so I'm offering you a new one. Give me everything you were planning to give the cops, names of their informants, weaknesses in their surveillance, everything you know. In exchange, I give you a passport, a plane ticket, and a bank account with $1 million in it. You disappear forever. I get to protect my business. Everyone wins. The offer hangs in the salty air, a clean slate, an escape. And if I say no? Then the hunt continues, Vargas says, his voice turning deadly. And I will find you. And when I do, it won't be quick. I will make an example of you that people will talk about for generations. So you have a choice. A new life, or a very painful death. Ethan knows it's a trap, but it's the only move on the board. Where? The port, Pier 7, at the end of the container yard. There's a red shipping container, number 747. I'll be there in 1 hour. Come alone. I'll know if you don't. The line clicks dead. An hour later, Ethan walks through the canyon-like corridors of stacked shipping containers. The port of Miami is a ghost town at this early hour. He sees the red container, number 747, isolated at the end of the pier. He approaches, every sense screaming danger. Vargas, I'm here! Let's talk! His voice is swallowed by the vast, empty space. The main doors of the container are slightly ajar. Too obvious. He circles it, checking his angles before taking a deep breath and shoving one of the heavy doors open. It's empty. A decoy. The world explodes. Men materialize from behind other containers, appearing from the shadows. Luis, Marco, 4 others, all armed. They have him surrounded, an iron circle of death. Luis raises a pistol. Drop it, cop! Hands where I can see them! Ethan slowly raises his empty hands. He was counting on this. From behind a blue container, Vargas steps out, a smug, triumphant grin on his face. Did you really think it would be that simple? A quiet chat? After what you did? I'm disappointed, Ethan. I thought you were smarter than that. I came, didn't I? Ethan says, his voice steady. You came because you had no choice, Vargas sneers. A cornered rat will always run towards the cheese, even if it's in a trap. He nods to his men. Get him. As they advance, Ethan looks directly at Vargas. You made a mistake, Julian. Oh yeah? What's that? You got predictable. As the words leave his mouth, a powerful spotlight from a crane high overhead floods the pier in brilliant, blinding light. The sudden silence is shattered by the eruption of dozens of police sirens from all directions. Tactical units emerge from their hiding places among the containers, rifles raised, red and blue lights painting the scene in chaotic flashes. Lieutenant Thorne's voice booms over a bullhorn, an instrument of divine judgment. Julian Vargas, this is the Miami Police Department. You are surrounded. Drop your weapons and put your hands in the air. Vargas's face twists from triumph to pure, unadulterated rage. He looks at Ethan, understanding the betrayal completely. Ethan wasn't the rat in the trap. He was the bait. You set me up! You were wearing a wire. I didn't need a wire, Ethan says, a cold satisfaction in his voice as Thorne and a SWAT team advance. I just needed you to show up with all your friends. I called your bluff. Vargas lets out an animalistic roar. This isn't over! He shoves Marco toward the police line. Light him up! The pier erupts. It's a storm of gunfire, a maelstrom of noise and violence, and Ethan is standing directly in the eye of it. The air is a chaotic whirl of sound and violence. Thorne's voice on the bullhorn struggles to cut through the din. All units, hold your positions. Box them in. Do not let them reach the water. Vargas, realizing he's been outmaneuvered, screams to his men, Fall back! To the warehouse! Provide cover fire! Ethan dives behind a stack of wooden pallets, splinters flying as bullets chew through the wood just inches from his head. He's a target for both sides, unarmed and exposed. He sees Vargas and his remaining crew retreating toward a large, corrugated metal warehouse. He's heading for the warehouse, Ethan yells to Thorne. He's got another way out of there. We have the perimeter locked down. He's not going anywhere, Thorne yells back. The firefight is brutal but brief. Outgunned and outmaneuvered, Vargas's men fall quickly. Marco goes down, clutching a wounded leg. Luis lays down a desperate stream of cover fire before a volley of police rounds cuts him down. Vargas, now alone, makes a final sprint, kicks open the warehouse door, and vanishes inside. He's inside Warehouse 3, Thorne barks into his radio. Alpha team, on me! We're going in! As the tactical team converges on the door, a new sound slices through the adrenaline-charged air. A woman's terrified scream. My son! Somebody help! My son! Ethan peers around the pallets. A woman, a port worker in a high-vis jacket, is huddled behind a forklift. She's pointing, hysterical, at the open warehouse door. He ran inside! He got scared by the noise and ran inside! Please! The tactical team freezes. The entire situation changes in a heartbeat. It's no longer a breach, it's a potential hostage crisis. A civilian, a young man, is now inside with a cornered, desperate Vargas. All units, hold your fire! Cease fire! Thorne commands, his voice strained. We have a civilian in the building. I repeat, a civilian is in the building. An agonizing quiet falls, punctured only by the mother's sobs. Thorne looks at Ethan, his face grim. Your trap just got a lot more complicated, Cole. He won't hesitate to use him as a shield, Ethan says. I know. Negotiators are en route. Ethan looks from the dark maw of the warehouse to the terrified woman. This is his fault, his monster, his responsibility. While Thorne is coordinating his units, Ethan makes a decision. He's not a cop anymore. He doesn't have to follow orders. He breaks from cover, sprinting along the side of the warehouse, using the clutter of the port as cover. From somewhere behind him, a bystander with a phone camera spots him. Hey, That guy! He's running towards the building! Thorne whirls around. Cole! What the hell are you doing? Get back here! That's an order! Ethan ignores him. He knows this building's layout. He reaches a side loading bay with a faulty latch he'd noted weeks ago, yanks it open, and slips inside. The warehouse is a cavernous space of shadows and machinery. Vargas's voice echoes from deeper within. I have a hostage! You hear me out there? You try to come in here, he dies! I want a car, and a clear path out of the city. Ethan moves like a ghost through the shadows. He hears the quiet sobbing of the young man. Peeking around a stack of crates, he sees them. Vargas has the hostage, a man in his early 20s, in a chokehold, a pistol pressed to his temple. He's backing towards a far door.
The SWAT team will wait.
Negotiate. But Vargas is a powder keg. Ethan is the only variable he hasn't accounted for. He grabs a heavy wrench from a toolbox and steps out from the shadows. Let him go, Julian. Vargas spins, his eyes widening in shocked fury. You son of a bitch! I should have killed you myself! It's over. You're boxed in, Ethan says, his voice calm. Don't make it worse. Let the kid go. Vargas shoves the gun harder against the hostage's head. You take one more step and I'll paint the walls with his brains. Drop the wrench! Ethan lets the wrench fall with a clang. He raises his hands. Okay, just be cool. Look, it's me you want. Let him walk out that door and you can have me. Your revenge, your prize. It's a better deal. For a split second, Vargas hesitates, his attention divided. It's the opening. In that instant, the terrified hostage, fueled by adrenaline, stomps hard on Vargas's foot and drives an elbow into his rib. Vargas grunts, his grip loosening for a fraction of a second. The young man breaks free and scrambles away. You little... Vargas roars, turning his gun on the fleeing hostage. Ethan doesn't think. He acts. He launches himself forward in a full-body tackle, driving his shoulder into Vargas's center mass. They crash to the concrete floor, the gun skittering away into the darkness. They are no longer a cop and a criminal. They are just two men, fighting with primal hatred. Through a grimy window, a bystander's phone camera records the entire desperate, heroic act. The room is paneled in dark wood, sterile and intimidating. 3 stoic figures sit at a raised table, looking down at Ethan. Officer Cole, please state your name for the record, the man in the center says, his voice impassive. Ethan Cole. Officer Cole, another board member begins, peering over his glasses. This board has reviewed the extensive file compiled by Internal Affairs. The charges against you are severe: conspiracy to commit armed robbery, use of an illegal explosive device, accessory to a violent felony, obstruction of justice. The list is substantial. Yes, sir, Ethan replies, his voice steady. Detective Rossi, sitting at a side table, adds her official condemnation. The department's position is that Officer Cole repeatedly and willfully violated established protocols for undercover operations, creating a clear and present danger to the public and compromising a multi-million-dollar investigation. The first board member interlaces his fingers. We have also reviewed the footage from the Port of Miami. The footage provided by a civilian witness that has since been viewed, by some estimates, over 50 million times online. It shows you, without orders and without a weapon, entering a hostile situation to save the life of a civilian hostage, an act of considerable bravery. I was correcting a mistake, Ethan says simply.
A mistake?
The situation with the hostage only existed because of the operation I was a part of, because I pushed Vargas into a corner. That young man was in danger because of me. It was my responsibility to get him out. The third board member leans forward. The department sees a reckless officer who broke every rule in the book. The public sees a hero who saved a life. This board is trying to determine which one you are. Do you have anything you wish to say in your defense? Any justification for your actions during the 18 months you were undercover? Ethan looks at the faces before him. He glances at Rossi, then to the back of the room where Lieutenant Thorne stands against the wall, a silent, unreadable spectator. He offers no excuses. No, sir. I have no defense. The board members exchange surprised looks. No defense? The second man asks. You don't wish to explain the context? The pressure you were under? The constant threat to your life? The context doesn't change the facts, Ethan says, his voice clear and resonant in the quiet room. I was given a mission, to gather intelligence on Julian Vargas and his organization. To do that, I created a persona, Rico. And to make Rico believable, I had to do things. I had to make choices. He looks down at his hands, then back up, meeting their gazes. At first, the line between Ethan Cole and Rico was clear. But the longer I stayed in, the more that line blurred. I told myself that every decision, every crime, was a necessary evil to achieve a greater good. He takes a breath, the confession feeling like a physical weight being lifted. I was wrong. The first time I crossed a real line, I should have been pulled. But I stayed. I went deeper. I told myself it was for the mission, but that's only half the truth. The other half is that I started to believe the mask. I started to think like him, to justify things like him. The robbery, the threats. I did those things. Me, Ethan Cole. Are you saying you accept full responsibility for your actions? The chairman asks. I am, Ethan confirms. I'm not asking for a pass. I'm not asking for you to ignore what I did because of what happened at the port. I broke the law. I violated my oath. I made choices, good ones and bad ones. I'm not here to ask for forgiveness. I'm just here to say, I will accept the consequences. Whatever they may be, I am responsible for what I've done. A heavy, profound silence fills the room. He has offered them no way out, no mitigating circumstances to latch onto. He has simply laid the truth on the table and waited for judgment. He stands before them, no longer an officer or a hero or a criminal, just a man who has finally stopped running from himself. The chairman looks down at Ethan, who stands before the board, his posture rigid. This board has reached a unanimous decision. Officer Ethan Cole, please rise. Ethan was already standing. He braces himself. In the matter of your conduct, we have found that you acted in a manner unbecoming of an officer of the Miami Police Department, the chairman begins, his voice formal and unyielding. The evidence of protocol violations and criminal acts is undeniable. On paper, your career is over. On paper, you should be facing a criminal trial. He pauses, letting the weight of the words sink in. However, this board does not operate solely on paper. We are also charged with considering context and outcome. The outcome of your 18-month operation is that Julian Vargas is now in federal custody. His entire network has been dismantled based on the intelligence you provided. You cut the head off the snake. The second board member takes over. Furthermore, while your methods were unorthodox and in many cases illegal, we cannot ignore your final actions at the Port of Miami. The district attorney has already informed this board that the young man you rescued and his family have refused to see you prosecuted. They, along with a significant portion of the public, view your actions not as criminal, but as heroic. The chairman looks directly at Ethan. We are faced with a paradox. A good cop who did bad things for the right reasons. A flawed man who, when it mattered most, made a selfless choice. Therefore, we have decided on the following course of action. Ethan's heart pounds. Effective immediately, you are stripped of your rank and dismissed from the Miami Police Department. You will turn in your badge and service weapon. You will never serve as a law enforcement officer in this state again. Ethan nods slowly. He expected it. It feels just. As for the criminal charges, the chairman continues, the district attorney's office, in light of your extensive cooperation and the unique circumstances of this case, has agreed to drop all charges pending against you. You will not face prison time. A wave of relief so intense it makes him feel lightheaded washes over him, but his face remains a stoic mask. He has lost his life, but he has kept his freedom. You are a free man, Mr. Cole, but you are no longer a police officer. This hearing is adjourned. The gavel strikes again. The board members file out, leaving Ethan alone in the vast, empty room. He lets out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding for 18 months. He sees Thorne waiting by the door. In the empty hallway, the two men face each other. "They made the right call," Thorne says. "Did they?" Ethan asks, the question devoid of accusation, just a quiet inquiry. "You saved that kid's life. That counts for something. More than you think," Thorne says. "But you couldn't be a cop anymore. Not after this. The lines were too blurred." "You drew the line pretty clearly yourself, at that press conference." Thorne has the decency to look away for a moment. "I did what I had to do to protect the department, to make it clear that no one is above the law, including you, including me. It wasn't personal." "Everything about this was personal," Ethan replies softly. Thorne meets his gaze and nods, conceding the point. "Yeah, maybe it was." A flicker of something akin to regret crosses his face. "I sent you into that hellhole, Ethan. That's on me. I kept you in there too long. That's on me, too. I'm sorry." The apology hangs between them, a small, insufficient bridge over a vast canyon of pain and betrayal. "What happens now?" Ethan asks. "You try to build a life, a different one," Thorne says. "You're good at what you do. Maybe private security, consulting, something. You'll find your way." "And you?" I go back to my desk. I look at the next case file. I find another young, promising cop, and I try not to make the same mistakes with them that I made with you. Thorne extends his hand. After a beat, Ethan takes it. The handshake is firm, a final, formal act of closure. "Good luck, Ethan." "You too, Lieutenant." Ethan turns and walks down the long, polished corridor, his footsteps echoing. He doesn't look back. He is walking away from the only life he has ever known, a ghost leaving his own haunting behind. Ethan sits on a park bench, the afternoon sun warm on his face. For the first time in what feels like a lifetime, he is simply sitting, observing the world without calculating angles or assessing threats. He is anonymous, a face in the crowd, and the feeling is both liberating and terrifyingly empty. The crunch of gravel on the path announces an arrival. He doesn't need to look up to know it's Thorne. The lieutenant sits on the far end of the bench, leaving a respectful distance between them. For a long minute, they both just stare at the duck pond, two veterans of a war no one else would ever understand. "I wasn't sure you'd be here," Thorne says, breaking the silence. "You said you wanted to talk." "Off the record," Ethan replies, his gaze fixed on the water. "So, talk." "The department is closing your file, officially," Thorne begins. "The Vargas case is wrapped. He took a plea deal, life without parole. He'll die in a supermax. It's over." "Good," Ethan says. The word is flat, devoid of triumph. "Rossi's report. She recommended a full departmental review of the undercover program, new oversight, better psychological support, shorter deployment times." Thorne pauses. "She said we can't create another Ethan Cole." "She's right," Ethan agrees. Thorne shifts on the bench, turning slightly to look at Ethan's profile. "I've been thinking about that day, at the press conference, when I said your background wasn't a shield." "I remember." "I meant it. The law has to be impartial," Thorne says, choosing his words carefully. "But I wasn't being entirely honest. I was also trying to send a message to Vargas. I figured if he heard the department was disavowing its own, that you were being investigated, it might make him underestimate you, make him think you were truly alone. It was a gamble, a way to give you an edge." Ethan finally turns to look at him, a flicker of the old anger in his eyes. "You threw me to the wolves as a strategic move." "I put a calculated risk on the table," Thorne admits, his voice low. "It was a cold move, maybe the wrong one. But in my position, all the moves are cold. I have to look at the whole board, not just one piece, even if that piece is one of my best men." "I wasn't a piece on a board, Lieutenant," Ethan says, his voice quiet but intense. "I was a man, down there in the dirt, making impossible choices every single day. While you were looking at the whole board, I was trying not to get swept off it." "I know," Thorne says, the words heavy with a truth he can no longer deny. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about the cost of that. The cost to you. I read your psych evaluations from before you went in. You were a good cop, a solid man. The man who came out, he was different, harder, more broken. A sad, knowing smile touches Ethan's lips. You can't put a man in a cage with a tiger and expect him not to learn how to bite. No, you can't, Thorne concedes. We ask our undercover officers to become monsters to catch monsters. And then we get angry when they come back with fangs. The system is flawed. I'm flawed. I pushed you too far because I wanted Vargas too badly. I saw you as a tool to get the job done. That's all I ever was. No, that's not true, Thorne insists, a surprising amount of passion in his voice. You were the best of us. That's why I chose you.
I knew you could handle it.
I just didn't realize that handling it would mean losing a part of yourself. He reaches into his coat and places a small velvet box on the bench between them. Open it. Ethan eyes it with suspicion before flipping the lid. Inside, nestled on a bed of satin, is the Miami Police Department Medal of Valor. I don't understand. I was dismissed. You were. Publicly, Thorne explains. But there are things that happen off the record. The board can't officially give you this, but the department, the men and women who know what you really did, they wanted you to have it. For what you did in that warehouse. For bringing Vargas down. This doesn't fix anything. It doesn't give you back your career. It's just a thank you. From one cop to another. Ethan stares at the medal, a symbol of everything he was and everything he lost. He looks at Thorne and sees for the first time, not a lieutenant, but a man burdened by his own impossible choices.
I don't know if I deserve this.
You deserve it more than most, Thorne says, standing up. What you do with your life now is up to you, Ethan. But don't ever think that what you did didn't matter. You made this city safer. That's a legacy, no matter what it cost. He gives a final brief nod. Take care of yourself, Cole. Thorne walks away, leaving Ethan alone with the medal, a silent, heavy acknowledgement of a debt that could never truly be repaid. Lieutenant Thorne sits in the dark, the city lights of Miami blurred by the rain-streaked glass. In the small pool of light on his desk lies Ethan Cole's badge, number 714. It feels heavy in his hand, a cold, solid piece of metal that represents a life's oath, a career forged in shadows, and a soul bartered for the greater good. He had asked Ethan for it after the hearing, a final, formal severing. Now it sits on his desk like a relic from a forgotten war, a silent judgment. He finds himself thinking of the two men at the center of this maelstrom, Ethan Cole and Julian Vargas, a cop and a criminal, predator and prey. But the lines, once so clear, had blurred into a bloody, indistinct gray. Both were intelligent, charismatic, and possessed a capacity for ruthless action. Both were molded by the same unforgiving city streets. The primary difference, Thorne mused, was the piece of metal now lying on his desk, the badge. A simple symbol of a choice made, a line one man swore to defend and the other to defy. He lets the silence of the office settle around him. What becomes of a man like Ethan, a weapon now disarmed, a man whose very identity was stripped away? Will the ghost of Rico ever truly leave him, or will it forever be a dark passenger, whispering of the man he was forced to become? Thorne knows some wounds never heal. You just learn to build your life around the scars. And what of Vargas? His violent end was not a simple matter of good versus evil. Thorne had unsealed his juvenile file. It was a bleak litany of systemic failure, a broken home, a string of foster placements that were little more than warehouses for unwanted children. He was a boy who learned the hard lesson that the only person you could ever trust was yourself. The system had failed him long before he chose to declare war on it. His insatiable hunger for power wasn't just greed, it was the desperate act of a wounded child building a fortress around his heart, a kingdom where he could never be abandoned or powerless again. When Ethan, as Rico, filled the role of a loyal brother, his eventual betrayal wasn't just a business problem. It was the ultimate personal wound, a confirmation of his deepest held belief that loyalty was a lie. His final violent lashing out was not the act of a king defending his empire, but of a boy trying to burn down a world that had hurt him one last time. Hindsight is a cruel, useless luxury. What if Thorne had insisted on mandatory psych evaluations for Ethan, a forced stand-down every 3 months to allow him to breathe, to step away from the Rico persona? Could that have preserved the line between the man and the mask? Perhaps. What if Ethan, at the armored car robbery, had found another way? A faked engine stall, a bad tip about police in the area, a smaller, safer failure. It might have damaged Vargas's trust, but it would have kept Ethan from committing an irrevocable felony, from taking that final damning step into the abyss. But in the heat of the moment, with his life and the mission on the line, he made the only choice he could. The path to hell is paved with impossible decisions. Thorne picks up the badge. It feels cold against his skin, a stark reminder. Justice is not clean. It's a messy, brutal calculus of necessary evils and acceptable losses. He traded one man's soul to save a city. He looks out at the rain-washed streets, a city sleeping a little safer because of the price Ethan Cole paid. Yes, he thinks, it was worth it. But God help him for being the one who had to weigh the scales. The badge isn't a shield, it's a weight. And tonight, it feels heavier than ever. The story of Officer 714 will never be officially told, but it will live on in the quiet moments, a testament to the fact that the brightest lights always cast the darkest shadows. The true cost of justice is paid by those who walk that line. What do you think about the choices Ethan was forced to make? At what point do you think he crossed a line that he could never come back from? Let us know in the comments below what you would have done in his position. And if you want to see more stories that explore the gray areas of justice, be sure to subscribe.